Welcome everyone to a new live session here at The Latest, where I'm on a mission to help a million marketers make the best out of their digital marketing careers by bringing you experts to share tips, tricks, hacks, and also their stories of how they ended up doing what they do. You know, we've had pretty interesting and cool stories here in the past live sessions. Today we have Hassan Aanbar, Chief Strategist at Bright Leads Media. They're all about SEO. They're all about bringing the right results, not just vanity metrics with traffic, all about conversions. He's been, speaker at AdWorld. So it's going to be a cool discussion today about SEO, especially with all the changes happening. How are you, Hassan? Welcome.
Well, yeah, thank you, Diego, for having me. Yeah, it's an honor to be here.
No, it's going to be good. We were talking about it before, how you have a bunch of challenges happening this year. You have iOS 14 being launched, now iOS 15 with email. A lot of people are struggling with CPMs going up, conversion rates going down, cost of conversion going up. It seems like it's becoming more of a challenge to do paid traffic and paid channels. And I think SEO it's always been like a strong channel, but I don't think it's a channel that people pay attention to. So is this finally the time to start paying real attention to SEO? What are your thoughts on what's been happening in the past couple of months?
All right. I mean, for somebody who like me who's been doing this for a long time, we've had a few times where we see that most people are always geared towards trending marketing channels. Over the last 5 years, it's always been Facebook ads, YouTube as whatever's the flavor of the month is. So for us, it was always SEO, and we've always known, because we sell it as a service and we deliver as a service. So we've always known like what are the strong points, and the selling proposition is always whatever it is that you do, you have to have something that's a little bit more long term, something you can rely on, something you can do now, work on it for 3 months, 6 months, a year, and then kind of let it do its thing, which has always been the case. We have clients that stick around for 6 months, for sometimes even less, and they see kind of these results keep bringing amazing traffic, amazing conversions for years to come. So that's why SEO is and I'm biased, obviously. It's something that it's something that you have to focus on, whatever field you're in, whether you're doing e-commerce, whether you're doing B2B. The only difference is in the numbers, in how many people you want to attract, how many people you want to bring into your site, how many shoppers you want to bring into your store, how many interested, leads or warm leads or cold leads you want to bring into your SaaS business. So whatever it is, for us, it's always been the best. And for the foreseeable future, it's always going to be a very, very important traffic channel.
And I think let's dig deeper there, because you mentioned a couple of things, and one is 3, 6, 9 months. So I think like short term versus long term, because SEO, it seems like it's a longer play, and I think a lot of companies are just not patient, and it's easier to go in and say, you know what, I'm just going to throw money in, pay the short term, get a lot of shitty leads, but pay instead of playing the long game and playing SEO and doing all of that. How do you tackle that issue when you're selling customers, when you're talking to marketers of this is why you should be investing in SEO? Because I've been in so many places where, and I've heard Dave Gerhardt talk about it, we should have been investing in SEO 9 months ago. Like we started like a month ago. Today I regret, because we should have been doing that 6 months ago. But it's also a really hard sell. Like I think SEO is a really hard sell. I think out of all the services, how do you tackle that issue of need of immediate results versus this long-term, or not long-term, right, but like longer play?
Yeah. So for us, it was, we've had the agency for almost 4.5 years, going on 5 years. Starting out, we just wanted to sell to anybody, whoever wanted to come on board, we'd say yes. We learned over the years is the people who are established. If you have an established business, if you have your marketing, budget set in, how much you're spending on your, paid traffic, how much you're spending on email, how much you're spending on influencer marketing. If you have your numbers in, that does not make it a hard sell for us, because they already come in with that knowledge that it is important. It is something that they have to focus on. But it is a hard sell for people who don't have the full picture. Somebody who's just starting out, somebody who's just has one traffic source. And then you keep telling them that unique selling proposition is, or the reason why they should invest in SEO is that they shouldn't be putting all their eggs in one basket. They shouldn't just rely on one traffic source. One day it's going to dry up. Something's going to happen to it, whether it's just paid traffic or anything else. Just like back in the day when people started relying on building Facebook pages and bringing traffic from it, and then Facebook started, diminishing the reach until it was almost zero. So that was the idea for us, just to tell them, there you go, you have to diversify. If you want to, for people who like to diversify their income streams, it's important for your business to have diverse or a number of traffic sources that are reliable. And we always talk about you working with influencer marketing, whether with SEO, whether you work with the email, whether we pay traffic, until at some point you're not going to have to be spending as much as you're spending today. And one other point was I always brought up is the fact that you can sell higher ticket items, whatever it is. If you're doing e-commerce or anything, you can sell high ticket items through SEO because people come in with high intent, because people are already almost warmed up, as we marketers like to say. They already have an idea. They're in research mode. They're not in discovery mode. They're not in just browsing Facebook. You don't have to do the extra work of convincing them that they need this or that. If somebody's looking for a stroller, they already know they need a stroller. So they're not going to go to Facebook. They're just going to go to Google or whatever to do check reviews, check prices and whatnot. And that's how they're going to land on your site.
And I think that this is something important. How does this relate to the unit economics of it? Because you mentioned, okay, like customers who know how much they're paying in paid traffic, how much their CAC is, how much their long-term value is, how much their average order value. How does SEO metric compare to paid channels, and what are you seeing these days? Like if you want to share benchmarks even of what are the differences you're seeing in how these SEO ranges differ, not just in like a lower cost, but also I would imagine higher conversion rates.
When you're selling through Facebook, through Google, through any other marketing channel, any paid marketing channel, you have to put in the amount that you're spending on that paid traffic. So you have to put that into consideration. There's also the fact for SEO, you basically just count it as, you wouldn't really consider it free traffic, because whether you do it yourself, whether you do it through an agency, through a freelancer, a consultant, whatever, or you hire somebody in your team to do it, you have to consider that amount as something that's paid. And how it works is whatever that person is doing, and the idea that it takes a long time and it's hard to wait for results, that's true for the most part. But if you already have a business that's already established and your site is a little over a year old, a little over 2 years old, it's not going to take that long, especially if you know exactly what your market you're in, what kind of audience you have, you know exactly what people are reading on your site. Again, it all has to do with established business owners who know their numbers, who know their audience. So just like they know exactly who comes to their site, what kind of audience targeting they're doing on Facebook or any other social media ads, that would give them a heads up, or I'd say an advantage over the competition, because they already know what kind of keywords people are gonna look up to land on this website of theirs. So that's the thing. You can't really quantify it until you already know exactly how much traffic you're getting. If you're getting 20% traffic from search, you'll know exactly how much it costs. If you're getting 30% of it, 50% of it, the ideal goal is to get between 70 and 80% of your traffic from search, because then you'll know you won't be spending as much on any other traffic source, and that's when the real impact of that search traffic, of whatever investment you've been doing over the last year, over the last 3 years, over the last 6 months.
Yeah, I think like it always comes back to understanding like the basic unit economics of your business. Like how much are you spending? How much are you spending to acquire a customer? How much are you selling? And be able to compare that. You talk and you talk about understanding your audiences, understanding your products. Like I think having product market fit. What about like the technical aspects and foundations that a business needs to have in order for SEO to work? Because I've also seen companies that they pay someone to do SEO a month and they think they're doing something every month, but they're not writing content. And like you can't change the website too much. Like you can fix it once and then it should work. Like it's not something that you're continuously paying to like fix the website. What are some like foundations and things that people should consider that are thinking about doing SEO? What does my website need to have? Like musts, right? Before I invest in SEO, because otherwise you're not going to rank. You don't have like the proper tools to optimize the content that you're pushing out. What are those some things that like technically website wise you think people need to have?
All right. So in terms of technical stuff, there isn't really much to say in terms of what you need to have. If you already have let's say an e-commerce store that's already bring in traffic from any paid traffic source, whatever it's Facebook, YouTube, Google Ads, anything. You already have a budget. You already have a website up. You already have a catalog. Already have an add to cart. So the site is already running. It's already bringing in your sales. An SEO person, a good SEO person, I guess, a reliable, would always be just one piece of the puzzle. That's why a lot of people like to hire SEO agencies, because an agency, does the whole thing. This 360, as we call it. It's like full SEO service. So it's technical work done by usually more than one person. It's the SEO guy and a developer who knows the code, ins and outs of the code, whatever you're on. You're on Shopify, you're on BigCommerce, you're on WooCommerce, you're on any other CMS. The developer should know what to fix and what not to fix. And usually technical audits and technical fixes happen immediately. That's the first thing that they have to do. Again, as I said, it's not just one person's job, it's two. If you already have a technical person on the team, a developer, they have to work with the SEO person and follow their guidelines so that they can fix whatever that needs to be fixed in terms of SEO. So that first month to the 2 first months is a lot of technical work. It's a lot of like tasks that are being done on the site. Then comes the content part. The SEO person works with the developer and works with the content people. So if you already have a content generation machine, if you have content team that works on social media or articles in the blog or whatever it is that the team is already working on, they should be willing to work with the guidelines of the SEO person. So that's the thing. And there's some agencies that do offer packages where they can, write the content for you. People who, offer developers, which is our case. What we do is we have a whole team. We have developers that are willing to put in the work, SEO guys and girls, because it's a growing agency. And then we obviously offer a different package with content as well. That's if the client, for instance, does not have a content team.
Like writers,
so if you already have a content team in place, if you have all of these in place, you wouldn't need a whole team. You just need that SEO guy or girl to come in and do the work. Run the technical audit, fix it, work on the content strategy. And it doesn't matter what platform you're on, because that person should know what to fix, what not to fix in terms of technical SEO. And again, technical SEO is something that you do only once, but we run anybody who's a reliable SEO, they have to run occasional audits and fix whatever issues that come up every few months. So that's the whole
And
process.
do you see a preference of someone who's in the e-commerce space using Shopify versus WooCommerce versus Magento? Is one easier than the other? And what are some challenges that you see doing SEO with some of these tools? Because I see a lot of people, everybody talks about Shopify, but then you have a lot of big players using WooCommerce as well. Do you see any pros, cons in using one versus the other, specifically for SEO?
I'd say for anybody who's a smaller business, WordPress, WooCommerce would be a lot easier to manage, because they can just hire anybody and then they can come in and make whatever changes that needs to be made on the code, and it be a lot easier to manage. Shopify is a little easier. We would used to say that it was hard, but when we started hiring developers and working with us in-house, it wasn't a problem anymore, because they came in, whatever things that needed to be changed in the code, they were able to do it. So that's the thing. If you have a technical team that is guided by an SEO person, then they wouldn't really have an issue, whatever platform you're on. Again, if you're just starting out, you're a one-person shop, Shopify might be easier for you to manage from the day-to-day operationals side. But again, when you bring in an SEO person, then it might become a little bit cumbersome, which means you'll have to hire somebody on the technical side, like a developer who knows about PHP, who knows about like how to handle code without breaking the site. So that's the thing. It's not a matter of CMS. It's a matter of personal preference, whatever the business is used to. So for us, we never, at this point, we never really tell people, oh no, just use WordPress or anything. We just tell them whatever you guys are already using. We're not gonna cause you to change, the whole site just to accommodate us. So because we can do this.
Yeah.
Because we can do this, whatever CMS you have, because we know how to handle the code.
And what about B2B? Because I've seen a lot of people moving to Webflow as well. Webflow versus like WordPress. Do you see any preference, pros, cons there as well?
So that's one thing that we're not really used to be honest. We did have somebody who approached us who they were using Webflow. I guess it's just a little bit more headaches, I'd say, in terms of making the necessary changes, like cleaning up the canonical URLs, duplicate pages, all that good technical stuff that you do at the beginning of the site. That's the thing. It's just a little bit more work for our side. But again, if it's used by a lot of people, then we wouldn't have any other choice but to accommodate their needs.
And I saw your website and it says, like X amount of growth, no backlinks. How is this possible? Because everywhere I read about SEO, everything I've read about SEO, it's like, yes, you need the technical site, you need to write good content, but then like backlinks are like the backbone of like, if you really want to scale and grow and do SEO and grow your organic traffic, you're proposing no backlinks. Talk to me about a bit more about there. How does that work? What do you do instead then if you're not doing backlinks? Because I think 90% of people I see follow or read something about SEO, it's like backlinks, it's like a must, right? It's like one of those check mark things that you should be doing.
Yes. So that's the thing. That's where I bring you to the old adage of people, who do SEO, their preferred, answer is, it depends. So because
it always depends on marketing.
Exactly. Specifically for SEO, I mean, it depends on a lot of things. So here's the thing: when I'm doing any audit or checking just the competition for any website, that's when I'll know if I'll need backlinks right away or not. If the industry is very, very competitive, then it becomes really, really hard for me to rank without backlinks. I mean, you're not going to rank without backlinks at all, because there's a lot of ways you can work on your content in a certain way, and that content will definitely, it's just a matter of time, attract backlinks, because you'll need them anyway, especially if you want to keep your growth. If you have gotten to a certain point where you're getting this X number of traffic per month, you'll need to get backlinks at some point. But what we always do is we never really rely on them or try to bring backlinks from day one. We always do technical SEO. We fix the site. We set up the foundation of the site. It's good. Doesn't have any errors on the Google's index. Google can read all the pages without any issues. Whenever we publish something new, it gets indexed and ranked right away. Then we move on to the content strategy. So that's when we build blog posts, and we build like tutorial pages. We just increase the footprint of the website. Then we move on to the backlink building, to the link building part, and that is it's always a complicated procedure, because it depends on the space where you are. If you're in a travel industry, for instance, whether you have a hotel, whether you have a comparison tool like a hotel comparison tool, or anything that you have, if anything in the travel industry is extremely competitive. It's one of the most competitive. Yeah. So you're not gonna get anywhere without backlinks, without a really well built, done website from the technical side, really solid content strategy, and then you have to add content to that, add backlinks to that, so you can actually start ranking and getting traffic. So that's the thing. But if you are in a industry that's probably brand new, probably doesn't have a lot of competition, and there's a lot of examples for that. If you have I'd say a website where you compare, for instance, kindergartens in Canada or in France, for instance. So you're in Canada, you speak French. There's not a lot of other websites, a lot of competition. So you might actually be able to rank within a month or less after building your site and doing it, setting up correctly. But if you're doing anything in the travel industry, for instance, or anything in the insurance industry, for instance, that's going to be not hard, not impossible, but it's going to take a long time. It's just a matter of time. Then it becomes, instead of you being able to rank on the first page for a few keywords in a matter of weeks, it's going to be, that matter of weeks is going to turn into a matter of years. So that's where the backlinks come in. I can rank a lot of websites because I know how competitive the landscape is, how many other people have done a really, really good job on their SEO. And that's what, that's how Google kind of understands. If there's a lot of people with a lot of really well-built backlinks, a lot of really well-built websites as well, the number of competitors kind of grows. And then if you don't have a specific number of quality backlinks from websites in the same industry, then it becomes really, really hard.
Do you think like backlinks is just like SEO, that it's like kind of eventually you have to do it, so you might as well start doing it today? Just like SEO, and you might regret it if you don't start doing it today. Like where you kind of push it, because I think backlinks is a little harder to do than writing content and doing the technical side, and like it's a little trickier, I think, depending on the industry that you're in, to get the right links in there. It is something that people still think about doing anyways, and not kind of push that can down the road.
So the difference here is backlinks can actually wait, because you don't want to start building backlinks to a website that's not really well structured, because as soon as the backlinks start coming in, that's when it starts giving Google an idea of what your website is about, what the topical relevance of the site, and it considers where that backlink is coming from. Because you can just go out, for instance, and buy a package of backlinks from Fiverr, and it would be from random spammy websites, yeah. And that's gonna hurt. And that's gonna hurt. That's yeah. Instead of being useful, it's gonna be useless. Instead of helping you, it's gonna harm your site. So that's why we always try to be careful, and it doesn't have to be done from day one until you have that website that's well structured, has internal links within all the pages, has doesn't have any big technical problems. So that's why we always try to wait until we have at least those two, really well built site, no technical issues, and then we start. I mean, it doesn't have to be day one, but it could be like month 2, month 3 of our process.
And the other thing I wanted to ask is, for a company who has several categories, or who's playing in the space, if you're in an e-commerce space, for example, that has several products in different categories, is it better, and maybe easier is not the right word, but is it better to go after niche than broad, and like be able to rank those first and then slowly build up? Or do you recommend also working on the competitive categories first and then try to rank the smaller ones?
Our process usually involves starting with the low-hanging fruit. So the easier ones are better, because we want to start at least getting traffic to the site. no matter where it comes from. Because for us, it could be that the person using a long tail keyword, a longer keyword might be a little bit more, of a better lead, of a very value visitor than somebody using a broad keyword. So that's why we always start with the easier keywords, and then move on to the because we know if we already do them at the same time, the issue is going to be one's going to take 6 months, 9 months to show up, and one's going to take only a few months for us to start ranking and getting that traffic to those specific, a little bit easier keywords.
Do you tie that though to, again, CAC and long-term value? Like, yes, this keywords will rank it in 3 months, but the return I get from those keywords, because it's a product that's, I don't know, the margin I have as a customer is really small, or like the price point is really small. Do you consider that into the analysis? Like, if I'm in e-commerce space investing in SEO, is that something that you should also take into account of, like, great, you rank for those keywords, but they're not profitable because I'm spending more on the agency I hired, the technical SEO, all of this stuff, and yet I don't generate enough sales to have a positive ROI on that? So
for us, it's always hard to talk ROI. What we do is we kind of play the KPI cards, the key performance indicators. So what we do is we incorporate our own KPIs into the process. So we talk about keyword ranking changes, how much traffic they're getting, but we never really go into how much money the client specifically is making, because in a lot of ways it starts out small, the return, and it eventually grows bigger and bigger. And we don't really do this. I don't know if anybody really does this, especially specifically if they're an SEO agency working with e-commerce stores. I don't think they do commission based, benefit package or whatever.
Yeah, it will be difficult.
We don't really. So it's good. The thing with that is, I know people who do pay traffic. They do that. They end up getting a lot of money. Growing their business and all. If they have an agency that works with a fee structure plus a commission based kind of structure. But for us, it feels like the client is losing at the beginning, but by the end of it, by the first year, second year, it seems like we're losing because they're starting to make a lot of money. And this is true. We've seen it, and we see it all the time. The people we're working with, they're in the millions of dollars, but we're still stuck at that $3,000, $4,000, whatever fee we're charged per month, and we're like, yeah, it was worth it. And that's the thing. It's not like just once or twice. It's happening with almost every client that we work with, especially the ones who stick around, for a long time and know exactly that's always going to be the case anyway.
And do you think? So I think e-commerce is hard because it just takes so long. But how do you manage B2B though, where you're working for leads and you can kind of tie an organic lead that came from a specific keyword, and if they converted, then we can say like, okay, we generated the sale. What about B2B? Is it possible to tie revenue for B2B, or is it as hard as well as e-commerce?
So for B2B, it's actually a little bit easier because again, if we're talking about e-commerce, we're talking smaller, low ticket items, whatever sales. They're just talking numbers, like how many we've been able to sell through organic and stuff. And that's why it's kind of hard to do like a commission based kind of like pricing plan. For the B2B, it's a little bit easier because B2B, you're helping them sign clients that probably they gain maybe $20,000 in each contract, sometimes $50,000 in a contract. So it's a win-win in a way for them, because if we send them, for instance, maybe just 2 sales qualified leads a month, and each one costs about 20 grand, 40 grand, whatever it is, if they just get one every 3 months, that's still win-win. They're still winning. They're still getting a lot. So it's a little bit easier to actually look at that, what do we call it? Like return on investment.
Yeah.
It's very valuable for the people, for the people that work with us, again, in B2B.
And how much distribution come into play into all this? Because we talked about like, okay, like you need to spend time on fix your site, have good content, tie it to your strategy. What about distribution? Because I see this a lot as well, where you invest a lot of money in building really good content, really good guides, really good blog posts, really good articles, but yet you don't push money into, or maybe not money, resources into distribution and making sure that the content gets to your target audience. What sort of services do you provide, and how does that play a role into being able to really rank pages
That actually
quicker and be
doesn't.
successful?
Yeah,
Yeah.
distribution it could be a completely different service. What we do is we rely on the fact that we have a good standing with Google. Our site is, well structured, well built. Whatever it is that we published gets indexed and hopefully rank within a few weeks. And then what we do is, especially for like older sites, 5-year-olds, 10-year-olds, they already have their content, team. They're already working. So whenever we work on a specific intentional page to rank for a specific keyword, we publish it and it just goes up. It goes up on Google. Sometimes when we work with the news-related websites, sometimes it shows up in the news. The Google News, Apple News. Sometimes it shows up in different places, and that just happens organically because Google already has an idea about how your website is structured and how it works. If you're in the e-commerce space and you publish a blog post as a press release, in a lot of ways, if you do your technical setup right, it's going to show up in the right places. But when you're talking about distribution, showing it here and there, we don't really do that, because what we do is just make sure that page is indexed and that is well structured so it can show up for the right keywords that we want it to. We don't do anything because it's very intentional. We don't publish anything until we do the keyword research, the preparation for it, so we know exactly why or what keyword we're trying to publish or trying to target, as is what I wanted to say.
Yeah, and I think like it comes down to, we've talked about this a lot, all of our guests, like understanding how to pick the right customers. Like if you understand what to look for, it's easier for you to know who can you really have results in 3 months, in 6 months, in 9 months, and who that this is just like an impossible task. Like even if they pay me like twice as much as I'm making, like, or my normal fee, like there's no way I'm going to be able to rank this or be able to have the results that they're expecting, because either expectations are here or like the challenges that you have, like the mountain that you have to climb is like enormous.
It's true, but then that's where I guess the sales kind of of the conversations I have with the prospective clients, and that's what I like to do. I don't like to just jump in with anybody who's just like, oh yeah, let's do this. I like to set expectations straight and tell them, all right, your site is new. This is what you should expect. This is not gonna be a walk in the park. It's not gonna be easy. It's not gonna take a week or two. It's gonna take this long and this long. And I'm completely okay with losing potential people, if I know they're going to give me a headache. Yeah. If they don't understand the expectations. So I just straight out, as they say, spill the facts, be like, here's how it works. This is what's supposed to be. This is what's going to happen. And yeah, if you're not happy with it, then yeah, I don't think we're going to be a good fit, because we're an actual SEO agency with a lot of experience and we know exactly what we're doing. We're the experts here. And sometimes you do meet up with people who have crazy expectations. They've only heard of SEO somewhere, or they've probably heard a case study where some magical number showed up after a few months. Like we've done that with a few of our clients, but that was never expected. I never sat down with that client and told them, all right, in 3 months, you're going to increase your traffic by 7,000%. I never said that. But when it happened, all right, that's good news.
That's cool.
Well, we were expecting maybe 50% increase in about 6 months. But yeah, the fact that we jumped that high, that's amazing.
Yeah, I read the case study you had on like 0 to 8,000 in like 5 months, and I was gonna ask you like, how did that achieve? And I think, I mean, luck, right? But like, it's also like if you know your stuff, if you do good stuff, like if you identify the right client, if you do all the things that you're saying, it can happen. Like it's not just luck, right? Like it's also like
it's not just luck.
The experience you've put in, all the years you've put behind in like saying like, hey, we did the right thing, and like it's just amazing results happen.
Exactly. Well, one of the things is we never try to, under promise, like over promise and under deliver. We always try to do the opposite. Under promise, over deliver. That's the thing that you want to do. You want to set the expectations as low as possible, and then whatever happens, it's always going to be a good surprise. In the worst case scenario, it's going to be like a 20% or 30% increase.
That's decent, acceptable results. That are it's still a good job, right? Like it's just not the 7,000.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I think this has been great. The last thing I wanted to ask is if people want to get in touch with you, if people are looking for SEO services, what's the best way to reach you? What's the best way to find out? And if you want to share more about like the services that you do as well.
Sure. I mean, what we do is we do I'd say the two best marketing channels, which is SEO and email marketing, because SEO for acquisition and email marketing for, you can sell, you can do whatever you want with it with email, which is also amazing. One of my passions other than SEO is email. So what we do is, again, we've been around for a little over 4 years. The flagship service is SEO. We also do email. So we have development as well, because that just came with it, because you have developers.
It comes with
might as well just help people build sites. So but then where you can find me is I'm on Instagram by my full name. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Twitter. An agency owner, you have to be everywhere. And the website is brightleadsmedia.com. If you just do Bright Leads Media Hassan, or just Bright Leads Media directly on Google, you'll be able to get in touch with us. I do schedule consultation calls with people who might be interested in our service, and those are usually not salesy. I never go into those calls with the intention to sell. I always just go in and be like, hey, I'm going to take a look at your site, see if we can actually do something. Because if we can't, because if you bring me a site trying to sell CBD in California and you just built it yesterday, I don't think I'll be able to help you. That's almost impossible, unless you have the budget and have the patience.
Right.
That's the thing. If anything else, we're always, accommodating, and I'm always available for any questions if anybody of the audience is wanting any help.
Awesome. No, I think this is a great discussion. I think especially for people who are struggling with Facebook ads and who don't know what to do. I completely agree with you. I think the two most powerful channels are SEO, email marketing, and I would say SMS and like messaging is becoming like a big one these days. So thanks again, Hassan, for joining us. We'll be sharing the link of your website and also LinkedIn for people to be able to get in touch with you. We had great tips on SEO, your story. It was great having you. Enjoy the rest of the week and have a good weekend.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you. Have a good day.